All right. Well, welcome to Bend in the River podcast here, Quad City area, with Mike Ackerman. I'm Corey Schrader. And today we've got a special guest, Davenport mayoral candidate Jason Gordon, a fellow Central Blue Devil. Welcome, Jason. Thank you for taking a few minutes of your time this morning to just kind of answer some questions that we may have and hopefully help some undecided voters out there.
You
So
bet.
let's just dive right in. I know your time is precious, so some of the keys that you have in your campaign, you have trust and transparency, economic growth, and fiscal responsibility. Obviously, I would say to just kind of start things off, trust and transparency is probably one of the biggest things right now within the city of Davenport since really the collapse of that building that everybody is,
Sure.
still on everybody's mind back in 2023. So, um, as mayor, you become mayor, how do you try to regain that public trust in the process as a whole?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think trust is one of those things. I mean, politicians are politicians, right? So we all say things to try and convince people that we're the better candidate. I think trust is one of those things that you're going to have to earn. So whoever wins on Tuesday, November 4th, I think is going to have to demonstrate those first few months and year or so that they are indeed trustworthy. I can tell you, Corey, to trust me, and I think your response to that's going to be, well, we'll see, right? We'll see.
Right?
Let's wait and see. And so I can tell you I'm going to bring trust and transparency to the office, and I believe I'm going to do that. But I think it's also I think voters have to make a decision on that particular issue with their gut, right? What does their gut tell them? And I guess my response to that is I know a lot of people in this community. I've had a very unique career. I've done some really cool things professionally. I've also been on city council for 8 years from 2010 to 2017. So when people ask me about that, I'm just like, ask your neighbors, ask people at church, ask people you work with. You're going to find someone that knows me and ask them what they think about me. And I think they're going to say he's a pretty good guy. Like he's always been trustworthy. He's when he was an alderman, when he worked for two different congressmen, when he worked for the Chamber of Commerce, he did what he said he was going to do. And so that's kind of what I'm relying on is people to ask around about me and say, I think he's got a good track record on that issue.
Well, one of the things is we've got a city administrator that is, I think, believe stepping down, just announced here back in July that they're stepping down, and we've had some issues in the past with some of the administrators. One is a Corey Spiegel. There's a whole
Yeah.
uh, controversy of certain payoffs and not releasing the details of that. Is that something in your administration, if a problem were to arise, let's say you bring in a new city administrator and something happens, is that transparency going to be there for the citizens of Davenport to know what is going on in that type of detail?
That's a very, very relevant and good question. So I'll just be honest with you. That might be the reason I'm running. I think, and I know as much as you do, right? I don't. I wasn't in the closed session meeting, so I don't have any additional insight as to why that was done the way it was done. And so maybe there's. I'm fully willing to say maybe there's something there that I don't know. But I will tell you, in my opinion, the mayor's job in that situation was to say no. And the thing that troubles me is they sure got to yes really quickly. Yes on 1.6, yes on we'll sign the deal, and then yes on we'll sit on it for several weeks until the day before Thanksgiving and announce it. That troubles me. I think the mayor's job in that situation, and I'm not even going to pick on city council at this point. I'm just going to talk about the mayor's responsibility. I think the mayor's responsibility in that situation was to say, no, we're not. Today we're not doing this. Now maybe in a month or 2 months, if we need to revisit this or change our perspective on this, perhaps we can do that. And the other thing that troubles me about it is, you can let someone sue you, right? I mean, I'm being a little blunt and direct here, but you can let someone sue you and start the process in court, and at any point you can settle, right? At any point you can say, all right, let's give this person X and call the dogs off, right? Which I kind of wonder if that would have happened. I don't know if, I'm kind of thinking a little bit off the cuff here a little bit, but I think our first response as the city, and what I would have done as mayor, is say, well, let's take our chances in court. You start the process. If you think that the grievances are so dire and so bad that you're worth, or that the monetary value is worth X, go ahead and start the process in court. Get a lawyer. We'll get a lawyer. And it shouldn't have been the corporate counsel at the time, in my opinion, to be honest. That individual was pretty close with Corey. They were friends, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that individual was probably in my opinion, a compromised situation. And so I'll wrap this up by saying, if I were mayor at that time, I would have said, take your chances in court. And let's start the process. I know it would have cost taxpayers money, right? Because you've got to get your own attorneys and defend yourself. But they got to yes very quickly, and that troubles me. And I don't know. I'm assuming you guys are plugged in. You know what's going on in the community. You probably read what is commonly referred to as the demand letter. I don't know. Did you see a $1.6 million worth of value there? I didn't.
No.
Right. Right.
To me, I thought if there was $1.6 million worth of value there, then somebody somewhere was at fault for that, and we don't know what it was. And are those people still around? Are those people still working?
Perhaps, yeah. I think that's a valid point. So again, I'll close this out by saying, I know as much as you do. I only based on what I've read in the papers and what people on the streets proverbially have told me about it, and I don't know why they got to yes so fast. I think it seems to me it would have been, I don't want to say easy, but it would have been it wouldn't have been that hard to say no. Our first step is start your legal action, and actually, I mean, I don't want to say call the individual's bluff, but are you willing to actually go to court over this and start a whole process? Because the other issue, candidly, if this were to gone to court, is some of the other issues that would have come into play is maybe would have spoken to her competence, perhaps, right? You had the levee breach, the HESCO barrier breach in 2019. You had 324 Main. All those things could have been part of the evaluation and discussion in a legal proceeding as to. So I would have said no. I would have said start the legal process, and I would have been open to. I mean, again, is there more there that I'm not aware of? Perhaps, because I wasn't in the room. But based on what I know, go to court and let
the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of us have lived in the Quad City, or at least in Davenport, for pretty much all of our lives. I know I have. I've lived on the west side of Davenport my whole life, and then Corey's split time between the east and the west. I think one of the things that is frustrating for us, I know me and Corey talked about it, and when we're with friends, we talk about it. And my dad is 78 years old, and he worked for the city of Davenport, and he will say the same things. Is over the last 30, 40 years. You see the Mark go to Moline. You see the TBK Center go to Bettendorf. We took the casino, moved it out on Elmore, hoping for a great boon in development out there that just hasn't happened. What can the city do better to advertise what we can offer to bring these things to Davenport instead of let them all slide to other parts of the Quad Cities?
That's a great question. I think the first thing, this is going to sound a little trivial, I think, but I think be and show your outward facing persona is you're a high functioning, well organized, disciplined, well run city government. So let's start there, right?
Yes, I think that's a great point.
You know, I think if you're a developer and whether you're from the Quad Cities or outside looking in, and you watch a city council meeting the last couple of years, if you propose a project in Davenport, there's a good chance someone on that dais is going to rake you over the coals or someone in the audience, a citizen, is going to rake you over the coals for reasons that are unfounded and not accurate. So I think step one, let's demonstrate to folks that would be willing to invest in Davenport that this is a good place to invest, and if you do so, we're going to treat you well, and we're going to do everything we can to make the process as I don't want to say easy, but as pleasant as possible.
Yeah.
And then number two, I think we've got to use the tools in our toolbox, whether that's excuse me, TIF or urban revitalization tax, the URTA, URTE, whether it's a sales tax rebate, whatever those tools might be, we need to use those. And candidly, I mean, there are some things that I think we were in position to win. Before Craig Malin left in 2015, we went to the state and secured some funding for what was called River 80, I think was, and it was probably a little what TBK looks like today, and it was supposed to be out by Rhythm City Casino.
Yeah, Corey talked about that last night.
Yeah, and so then you had a new mayor, Frank Klipsch, get elected, and then Corey Spiegel. I don't even know if she was the permanent city administrator then, but they decided to kind of tell the state, time out, we're going a different direction. We're not going to pursue this project, and it still stings. It still stings a little bit because I feel like that could have been ours. So
well, yeah, because you look out at that TBK area and how many millions of dollars of investment, hundreds of millions of dollars of investments have been made out there, and how many tax dollars are being brought in because of that TBK center is packed every weekend, and those people are paying for food and everything every single weekend out there. So yeah, that was a big L, a big L.
Yeah, and I think like from a culture perspective, I think Davenport needs to start to get comfortable with the idea that we deserve nice things and we should go advocate for nice things. And I think sometimes we, as a community, as a city, we kind of, we don't need this, or we don't. It almost feels like we're saying we don't deserve this. We're just Davenport, And
yes,
and that troubles me a little bit. And I'd like to change that culture a little bit to. We do deserve this, and we can walk and chew gum, right? We're a big city. We have a big budget. We can fix roads and go and be aggressive to attract the nice shiny objects, so to speak.
So to be a little more specific, then you've talked about it, and it's ad nauseum. And Corey and I both live on the west side of Davenport. The west side of Davenport, in particular, has been hit pretty hard with businesses leaving. And even just restaurants, and Hy-Vee left. Happy Joe's just left. Tapa's Steakhouse, which had been here for 41 years, left a couple years ago. Yeah. And I remember I grew up right across the street from Walmart, where on West Kimberly Road, and they built Walmart, and everybody was like, "Man, that's going to be a big development area." And we got Applebee's that has been there next to it for that long, but every other business has not been able to stay afloat there. What can we do for the west side to make the west side feel like it's not forgotten?
Yeah, I'll start at the highest level and maybe work down. So the city, I think correctly and smartly, used some of their ARPA funds, their COVID money, I guess is the best term, $16 million to put in a brand new sewer line that's going to run all the way along Duck Creek and drop out on the other side of 280. That's going to open up about 50,000 acres to development that previously didn't have sewer access. So if you're a site selector or someone who's wants to develop, you're not going to develop in a place that needs sewer access, because you're going to have to either pay for it yourself or wait for the city to get it to you. So I think the city has a really great opportunity. I don't want to call it low-hanging fruit, because the city has to be aggressive about this, but think of the area north of Locust, west of Wisconsin, east of 280, and either south of Duck Creek or Kimberly Road. I don't care where you draw that north line. That's going to be ripe for development, and it's farmland right now. And so the city has to be, as mayor, if I'm elected, I'm going to be aggressive in saying we're not going to just sit and wait for the phone to ring and for that area to develop. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to get land under control, whether that's by buying it or getting options on land. And so when a developer goes to the state of Iowa and to Debbie Durham at the Iowa Economic Development Authority and says, I need 200 acres for a chip manufacturing facility, whatever it might be. And then Debbie, she puts out the all call, her and her team put out the all call to all of these economic development organizations in Iowa and says, we have a prospect that needs 200 acres, they need this and this and this. We're going to be able to say, yes, we have a site for you. We have it under control, and we have a price for it, and so we can start to talk about what that's going to cost. So that's priority number one. Is I don't want to call it the low hanging fruit, but the easiest and best and highest use of land and development is in that part of Davenport now. Our industrial park, where Amazon sits, the Eastern Iowa Industrial Center, it's full. We don't have any land left out there. And candidly, one of the biggest challenges the Quad Cities has, not just Davenport, but the Quad Cities, is we don't have sites for development right now. We don't have land under control. If another Fair Oaks Food or Amazon or whatever wanted to come to town, we don't have nowhere to put them. And so my priority is to make sure we have a place to put those types of development. And then secondarily, I think you talk about the Rockingham Road and the Hy-Vee, and I've been already in touch with so that grocery store. It's one of the unique situations where Hy-Vee doesn't actually own that store. It's owned by some development firm or whatever. And I've been in touch with they are in Arizona, and I've been communicating with them, even though I'm not mayor yet. But I've been saying, I think I've got a person or an entity that knows grocery stores. Now it's smaller. This individual runs grocery stores in West Liberty and Iowa City, and but he's interested. Now I don't think he needs all that space, but I've been working on getting someone into that grocery store. That was a big kick in the shins for me on the West End, and I felt like that was kind of like the. There's an analogy, right, where if you have a lake, and if algae doubles every single day and covers the lake, you don't notice it for years, but at some point the lake goes from being a fourth covered to half covered, and then the next day it's completely covered, and it's like, what the heck happened? And I feel like that's kind of what's happened on the West End. It's been a slow, steady decline, and it didn't really always get noticed. It was just kind of, well, this place closed and that place closed. I think Hy-Vee closing was kind of the lake is completely covered now with algae, and so that's a problem. And then we have to have bodies to go to those places. We need, and so the city council just established, I think, kind of a new incentive for restaurants on the West End.
Okay.
The Home Run Cafe or
right down there across from where Hy-Vee was.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I think they got $100,000 from the city to basically help run the restaurant, and that's great. Except we got to make sure people are going there, and we need people to go to those places. And anecdotally, I think if we can establish some new business and support existing business too. That's the other thing. I mean, the one thing I'll say, and then I need to be quiet because I'm kind of rambling, is
That's okay.
I'm all about economic development and growth, and I'm about attracting new business to Davenport. But 80% of your growth year over year is from your existing business. So you've got to be attentive to the businesses that are already established in the West End, and you need to go to them and say, what do you need from us as a city to be able to grow, and can we remove those barriers to growth and allow you to grow? So we got to focus on two things. We need new business in Davenport, particularly the West Side, but we have to support our existing business because that's where real value and real growth comes from.
Now, you do talk about the growth and expansion, and one of the things you mentioned was Amazon and everything out there. And I know you're part of the Great Davenport Redevelopment Corporation and their involvement out there. One of the biggest things that I think that I have found frustrating about that area is it's Davenport. You know, they're coming to Davenport.
Yeah,
Now, if you look at a map, there's a Sheridan Township district there, and all the maps stop it at the Davenport border. However, if you go to the GIS map and you look at property taxes and where that money goes, all of those businesses, and including most of them on 76, their dollars are going to North Scott Community Schools and not Davenport Community Schools. And I think one of the frustrations is we had Kraft down on the West End and they moved out and went up there. Well, in that process, their money in the West End would have gone to Davenport schools. Now they're still in quote unquote Davenport, but their money is getting shipped to North Scott schools, and all because of that technical border. Is that something we can fix? I mean, we have UPS and you have Jim Hawk
yeah.
Trucking out there and all of that, and MA Ford, and all that money is just funneling into North Scott. And boy, I'd sure like to see that money come to Davenport.
Yeah, and we can fix that by establishing a new in technology park, whatever you want to call it, in that area I just described a few minutes ago, north of Locust, right west of Wisconsin. Um, that whole issue of where the taxes went, it kind of came to light when I was on city council. So it was about 2015 or so when, and it was probably when Sterilite or one of those developments was happening where we were on city council and someone asked the question, where do the property taxes go? We know they go to the city, but where do they go? And staff was like, they go to North Scott, and we were like, what the hell, right?
Yeah.
and we
It's a little confusing.
yeah, and it just I didn't realize it. 3 years in as alderman, I thought when we were developing that park, we were doing great things for the city, but I just assumed, and shame on me for assuming. And that's not to say we shouldn't have done those things or stopped developing that area. I'm glad it's developed. I'm glad it's full. But it gives us a new opportunity to replicate what we've done in that part of town in a different part where the tax dollars will go to our school district.
Now, who's in charge of drawing those lines? Is that a county, a state? Like, could the city petition, hey, this is the actual border? Like, is that,
Yeah,
I, maybe it's time
that's a
for
good question.
Davenport
I know that.
to take charge. You
Um,
know how we talked about how Davenport, you had mentioned that Davenport was kind of, we don't deserve these things. Maybe it's time for Davenport to say, we deserve that money. That's, in
yeah.
Davenport.
Our
We're,
schools would love it.
yeah,
Oh,
I
that would be
mean,
great. And
yeah,
I'm so just on that subject. The Gordon family is three-generation Davenport schools. So my wife and I are Davenport schools. Well, we just talked about it at the beginning of the podcast, right? Central
yep,
grads.
yep.
Emily, my wife, is a Central grad. My kids went to West and Central. My oldest went to Central. My youngest graduated from West. And now my grandkids. I know I'm not old enough to have grandkids, but I do. And they're in they're at Adams. They're well, my oldest is at Adams. They're Davenport school kids. So um, it's a kick in the shins that that money goes to North Scott. When we kind of, as a council, again about 10 to 11 years ago, sort of realized we Art Tate was the superintendent at the time of Davenport schools, and we kind of talked about, is there something we can do? Could we go to North Scott? Could we just be like, hey, be cool, and let us collect this,
Right.
But it was going to start like the process would have been cumbersome, and maybe it's a process worth undergoing to have that money redirected to the Davenport schools. I think as mayor, my focus would be on, and I would entertain if there's a way to do this and get North Scott to sign off on it. I mean, I don't think any taxing entity is probably going to willingly say, "Sure, take that tax dollar,"
No,
Right.
and sure, we'll be cool about that. Like
they've
they're,
built some nice
Right.
new facilities with them some of that money.
oh yeah, North
Yeah.
Scott's got great facilities.
Yeah, they
Yep.
do.
But I think my focus would be on making sure that any new development and growth that happens in Davenport is in an area that's going to support the Davenport School District.
So
Makes sense.
I don't want. We don't can't keep. We could literally talk for another hour. I think we've got enough things to talk
I got
about. But we
plenty of
want to take.
time.
We don't want to take.
Too
And
early to knock doors.
we got
People
another
don't
one
want to
coming up.
be
Well, I
walking
do
over
want
the
to ask you a couple more things.
Yeah.
Mostly, do you support two things that are hot button ones right now? Do you support the taking away of the one ways downtown?
Um. So I'll be honest, right? This people are going to see this, so I'll just I'm not gonna hide anything. I am relieved that I wasn't mayor or on city council when that process was happening. I mean, as you recall, it was an ordinance, and why it was an ordinance, I don't know, but it required 3 votes, 3 readings, basically, and it was 5-5 every time, and every time Mayor Mattson broke the tie in favor of one way. So it was a lot of political capital. It sucked a lot of the political oxygen out of the room. Um, I'm for it. I'm just going to say it. I think if you look at urban planning and urban planners and towns like Davenport, so look at Cedar Rapids, look at Peoria, look at Des Moines, look at cities that look a little like Davenport in the Midwest. All of them have either converted one ways to two ways, or they're in the process of doing it like Davenport is. I'm sure it's not any less painful in Peoria or Cedar Rapids than it is in Davenport. I think one of the things the city did well on this was, so the Third and Fourth Street got about $10 million in federal transportation funding to basically rebuild the street and resurface it, right? And the city, I think, wisely came to council and said, we've secured this 80-20 match, so 80% of the cost of resurfacing Third and Fourth is going to be paid for by the federal government. So it's already going to be chaotic. We're going to tear up streets. We're going to make businesses that sit on Third and Fourth are going to have to deal with construction. If you wanted to actually make this change to one way to two way, perhaps this is the time to do it, because it's already going to be kind of a mess because of the work that already was going to happen in the reconstruction of Third and Fourth. So I think number one, I think that was the right time to do it if you were going to do it, because you're already creating chaos. So might as well do it then, right? It's like, kind of like ripping the Band-Aid off. And secondly, I was pleased that the Downtown Davenport Partnership stepped up and was willing to put in, I think, about $600,000 of their money to pay for the cost. I know it's not everyone's favorite issue, and I know candidly, when I've been door knocking, I haven't heard a lot of complaints about a lot of things, but that's one that's come up a few times. What do you think about this, and why are we doing it? I think it'll be rough for a couple of years,
Yeah.
I think. But I do think it's the right thing to do for downtown. And if you look at the histories of downtowns, 40s, 50s, 60s, those were your hubs, right? That's where you shopped. That's where you went, family dinners on Sunday. That's where everything was happening. And then, the 70s hit and suburban sprawl happened and North Park was built and everything moved out of downtown. And then downtown became kind of a 9 to 5 type place. It was white collar office space. And so that's where the one ways came in. Let's get people in and out as quickly as possible because they're only coming here to work. They're coming in at 8 in the morning and then they're leaving at 5 in the afternoon. My wife and I lived in downtown for 8 years. We lived in a loft apartment. We had our kids young, so we were young empty nesters, and that's where our circle of friends were, and that's where we loved hanging out, was in downtown. So we lived there for about 8 years. Downtown is a neighborhood now, right? There's about 1,200 people living there.
Downtown's made a big transformation over the years. I remember, I think Corey, you and I were together. I wish something would be able to stick in the starting line building, but we were at the starting line watching a game, and there was a couple that was probably our age, about now in their mid-50s, from Cedar Rapids, and they were coming down for the night, and they're like, "Okay, what do we do?" And we basically told them, "You don't have to take. If you just want to hop around and hit different places and have a beer and have some food, you can spend all day in downtown Davenport."
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So, I think it was the right thing to do. Again, I'm really glad I wasn't on city council at the time because I do think it sucked a lot of the political oxygen out of the room, but I was for it.
So here's the last thing I have, and it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but it's actually serious. During COVID, the one business or industry that took off was golf. It just, after COVID, golf just took off. I live about, Corey, about a mile from Emi's, as if I was going to walk. So, and my wife became a big golfer during COVID. So we golf all the time. Can't get a tee time anymore. Can I get you to build us a new golf course, or get the developers to build us a new golf course? All that land out there you're talking about, let's build a new golf course.
I don't want to use that land for a golf course. I'll be honest with you. It's too close to Emi's. Yeah, golf did take off. That's a great question because, again, I keep kind of referencing my time on city council, and there was a time in 2012, 13 that golf numbers were going the opposite direction, and the city administrator at the time, Craig Malin, so golf is an enterprise fund, first of all. So golf is, in theory, and it pays for itself through the green fees and beer and hot dogs that are sold at the concession stands, all go into an enterprise fund that pays for Duck Creek, Emi's, and Red Hawk. So number one, it's supposed to pay for itself, and it does. And golf numbers were declining in 2012, 13. But you're right, COVID, I think, and now golf numbers are off the charts. And one of the things I hear anecdotally from my friends that aren't from here and come here is they say, you guys have the best freaking golf courses for the value, for what it costs to play 18 holes, whether it's Palmer or Emi's or Highland Springs in Rock Island is a great golf course.
Yeah.
And people are just like amazed. Like, I can't believe your public courses are A, this nice, and B, this cheap.
Yeah.
Now, establishing a new golf course, certainly not in the area, where the sewer line's going. That's valuable land. I guess I'd be open to it. I don't know. Do you think? I mean, I guess I'd throw it back at you a little bit. So, I mean, if you think about the public courses we have, and I'm talking Quad Cities now, not just Davenport. Do you think there's a market for another public?
Oh yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think especially when you look at weekends and holidays and stuff like that. If you don't get your tee time at the beginning of when they become open, it's tough to get a tee time before 3:00 after a while. Yeah, so you could easily do have another golf course, and it would have plenty of people there to survive.
Well, then, so I guess my ask, Mike and Corey, is, assuming things go my way on November 4th, let's continue this conversation. Let's talk about a new golf course and where it makes sense to put that. I'm open to it.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but out on 53rd Street. They were going to build it where where the new park is out there. They were going to build the golf course there, and then they ended up building the Figge Art Museum, if I remember correctly, with the funds they had allotted for that, if I remember correctly.
Well,
I think Mayor Yerington was in charge at that point.
Yeah,
And it kicked us because we know him, and he wasn't a golfer, apparently.
Well, and as I recall, that was controversial for some reason, and they wanted to put a golf course there, and then people lost elections, I think, on that issue. And I can't remember who lost and what side of the issue they were on. But, yeah, Eastern and 53rd, where Prairie Heights kind of neighborhood is now, and now that's where Southeast Little League plays out there.
Yep. It's a beautiful park. Would have also been a nice golf course.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be a golf course. And and Barney Barnhill, I don't know if you remember Barney. He was on city council for 100 years. I shouldn't say 100 years, but he was on for like 25 years. He's a big golf guy, and I think, if he were here, and I know he's since passed away, but I think if Barney were here, he would be advocating for a new golf course.
Apparently, Charlie, my dog, wants a new golf course too. I can hear him.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can hear him, but apparently people are walking in the neighborhood and he doesn't like it.
Well, I got the perfect
what
solution.
I'm doing right now is walking in your neighborhood.
What's
The
that?
perfect solution is build a new golf course and make North Scott pay for it. That just makes
I love it.
I mean,
That's a little. That
Right?
sounds and has a little bit of a Trump edge to it, right? Build
Right.
a new golf course and make
build
That's
it and make
perfect.
North Scott pay
Love
for it.
Perfect. That is
Well,
perfect.
I love it.
I got
What do you got,
one
Corey?
last question, one last one, and it's simple. And you're a lifelong resident. We've all lived in Davenport for years. All have generations of family that have lived here. What is your favorite thing about the city of Davenport?
So I moved here when I was 8. So I'm not. I say nearly lifelong. My dad was
Pretty
a
close.
John Deere employee, and that's what brought us to Davenport into the Quad
That
Cities.
counts.
And we moved here to 80. Okay, thank you. What's my favorite thing about? I don't know. There's so many things. I'll tell you. There are parts of Davenport that don't feel like a city. So I like to ride my bike, and if you ride the Duck Creek Trail, you end up going through Sunderbrook Park. That area of Davenport feels like a rural country area, and it's beautiful. And so when you're on your bike and you're in Sunderbrook, it's hard not to stop and just kind of take in the beauty of that particular. I think Sunderbrook might be our best kept secret in terms of parks. It's an amazing park.
Yeah.
And it's the west side too, right?
Yeah.
Some of the history on the west side. You're asking me my favorite thing about Davenport. My wife was a blessing in Blessing Gardens, right there on Rockingham, across from the Tasty Freeze, was her grandfather's farm. Basically, they sold produce, and then right behind that is the Fairmont Cemetery. That cemetery is beautiful, and you can actually, from Sunderbrook, walk about 300-400 yards and be in the Fairmont Cemetery, and that's a beautiful cemetery. I like downtown, I think downtown's doing well. I think they've got a good organization in the Downtown Davenport Partnership. So I feel like as mayor, I think we can, I don't want to say shift our focus away from downtown, but I think we can focus on areas further west to really invest tools and resources into developing and improving that part of town. That's not to say I'm not interested in further developing downtown. I just feel like downtown knows what to do for itself and how to advocate for itself. Doesn't necessarily need a mayor nudging them along, per se. But I love downtown. We lived in downtown for 8 years, as I mentioned earlier. The Riverfront Trail, I mentioned the trail that goes through Sunderbrook, but riding your bike on the Riverfront Trail through Credit Island is, who has that? Like, pick a town anywhere in America. Who has the luxury of trails next to the third biggest river in the world, right?
Yeah.
Again, it goes back to what I said earlier. Davenport deserves nice things. We are an amazing community. We have amazing natural resources and assets. And being next to this river, I know we take it for granted, and
We definitely take it for granted.
I'll say something that probably will not help me politically. The Sky Bridge. I know it's still to this day. It was built in 2005. It's still referred to on any social media platform as the bridge to nowhere.
True story.
But I'll tell you, when I was an alderman, I had multiple people that I knew. Again, they didn't live here, but they came here, and they would tell me, like, my wife and I came to town for a conference, or our kids at Augustana or St. Ambrose, and we were in town, and we went and walked the Sky Bridge, and wow, that thing is cool. Like, we love that. And I jokingly say, like, the St. Louis Arch is a arch to nowhere.
Yeah.
But boy, I mean, no one says the arch is worthless and we shouldn't have built it, I don't think. And so I don't know. I didn't answer your question, Corey. I just named a whole bunch of stuff I like about Davenport.
Hey, no, you
give
did. You did answer it. It's perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect.
But yeah, I don't know. There's so many great things about Davenport, Sunderbrook Park, the Riverfront Trail, the Sky Bridge, the Figgy, the Putnam. I'm on the board at the Putnam, and we just had a great dinner at the Putnam last night with a paleontologist who has they found a Triceratops in Wyoming, and that is coming to the Figgy in 2027. Or I'm sorry,
Oh,
the Putnam.
wow.
They're
Nice.
bringing in a full Triceratops to the Putnam
Wow.
Museum.
Wow.
And again, our museums are world class.
Yeah.
The Figgy, the Putnam, the Botanical Center on Rock Island. We punch above our weight as a community of about 400,000 people. And cost of living, the things that you can do on the weekends, the value that you have in a place like the Figgy, the Putnam, the Botanical Center. And I'm a Quad City guy too. I mean, I want all of our communities to do well. But yeah, I don't know if you can live in a better place than Davenport, Iowa, in my opinion.
Well, we certainly appreciate your time. We took up more of it than what we anticipated. I hope it wasn't too painful for you.
Oh, I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah. We're trying to keep it. We're trying to keep it going and light, and that's kind of what we do a little bit. We don't take everything too seriously, but it's a serious conversation.
Yeah.
And both Corey and I have lived here, and we care about the city and the people in it. So we really wanted to have you, and we got your opponent on here, and we're gonna here in a few minutes, and really wanted to see what both of you had to say and get it out there so people can make decisions. And it's probably a little bit different than some of the interviews you've done. I don't know if anybody's asking for a golf course or anybody's questioned funding going to North Scott yet. So we really try to do it a little bit different for you.
Corey went to Central. Mike, where did you go to school? Are you West?
I went to
Kid?
North.
You went to North.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I don't want to make assumptions
graduated
about your
and-
age, but you might have been one of the first North
I
kids.
I went to Wood, and I graduated in '89, so I'm older than both of you. So I went to Wood for 3 years, or no, I went to Wood for 2 years, and then I had to go to Williams for a year, then back to North, which was Wood,
What was Wood,
for the
yeah.
final 3 years. Which my brother was 1 year older than me. He had to go after he flunked a year, he had to go to Wood/North for 7 straight years.
Yeah, that was talk about backdoor deals. I mean, Peter Flynn, Superintendent Flynn, wanted a new high school, and he didn't get it, so he made a junior high school basically.
Yep.
Right? So
Yeah.
And now you go there, and I've done a lot of coaching over the years at different. It doesn't make a difference, but now I go up to North, and you don't even recognize it.
No.
Like there's a shell of the school that I went to, but it doesn't look like the same school I went to.
no, it doesn't. It's actually a full-on high school now. Finally, I think.
Yeah. You know what's a difficult school to get in and out of now is Central.
Yeah, of course.
We went there for a volleyball game last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and holy cow, it is definitely not the same as it was back in the day when we were going to games and stuff there. That's a beast of a walk to get in and out of anymore.
It is, but it's the best high school in the state of Iowa, by the way.
Right. I mean,
Right,
there's
Corey?
no doubt. Of course. I mean, he's blabbing about North, and I'm like, whatever. Central's the best anyway. So,
Me and Corey are in a group chat with a buddy of ours by the name of Dan Naughton, who also he graduated with Corey at Central. And every once in a while, those two will take a side on a subject, and I'm like, "What did they teach you at Central? What happened there?"
It taught us how
Well,
to be sophisticated.
yeah. Well, he's fascinated of greater education that we received at Central than they did at that little junior
That's
high
it.
up north.
Yeah, it was a junior high.
True
It
story.
was definitely a junior high at that point in time, and
Hey,
it
but
felt like a junior high.
I'll tell you, and I know we need to be done, but I had a kid that my oldest went to Central, my youngest graduated from West, but I just wanted Davenport School to dominate in something. And I'm talking athletics. I know our music program at Central is phenomenal. I know North has the 2-year plus program, right, where you can graduate from North. If you get into that program, you graduate from North and you have 2 years of college under your belt.
Yeah.
West has great. The engineering and skilled trades programs at West are great, but I would love it. I would love to see. And here's an idea. This crazy idea. What if we just had one football team in Davenport, right? And called it Davenport High. Like the old days. Gene Meeker. I served with Gene Meeker on City Council, and Gene grew up in Louisa County, and he tells a great story. And he was a great basketball player. He played at Iowa. And he tells a great story of playing Central in football in the 60s, probably, or maybe the late 50s. He was that old, and he's like, those kids got off the bus, and he said, Jason, they look like men, and we look like boys. And they beat us every which way, on the field and dominated.
Well, think about those days in the late '70s and early '80s. Just even the Central team,
Yeah.
with Roger Craig and Jamie Williams, and you had the Rubleys at West, and I mean, it's a podcast for a different day, and I think I have a little bit more knowledge on some of these things. But North really did hurt the athletics when they came in, cutting it into 3 schools. But there's some other factors that belong in there too. I've coached at West, and I was lucky enough then to coach at Assumption. We were pretty successful at a couple sports, and I definitely have some opinions on why North and why the Davenport schools aren't as successful as they should be. It's not because they don't have the talent. I can tell you that.
I agree with that. The last state championship football team from Central was '84, I think, and that team had like 7 Davenport cops on it at the time. Paul Sikorsky and
I know Paul
Biggs and Hanson, and they all became Davenport cops. But that was like the last great Central football team that won state. So anyhow, I know you guys have another interview to do.
That's all right. It's all right. I've been messaging. Hey, again, we appreciate it. If anything pops up in your head over the next few days you want to talk about, give us a call, give me a ring, and we can certainly schedule something if you want to talk about anything. But certainly, good luck. If you happen to win, or if you don't, please keep in touch. And we'd love to have you back on again. And there's, like I said, we got a whole list of things here that we didn't even get to, right, Corey?
Oh, yeah. No, this was great conversation. Jason, we would definitely want to meet up with you again in the future.
Absolutely.
And good luck in this election. And if you win it, we're rooting for you to succeed. So we appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Well, I plan to win, and let's talk about that golf course after I get elected.
Deal.
Perfect.
Deal.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Jason.
All right.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Have a great day.
You
Have a
too.
good one.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.